We brought down a machloket, an argument. If you want to send to the group that we're on, we brought up an argument. Can the fruit of Shemitah be used for laundry detergent or to soak flax in the fruit of Shemitah? We brought down a dispute about that, and the Chacham said it cannot be done. The Tanakama says it can't be done. That's the Chachamim, and Rav Yossi says it's allowed to be done. So the Gemara says the Gemara is going to bring a brighter. Mantana Laha, the Tanarabana. Who was the author? We're now on 40b1, the first column. Mantana Laha, the Tanarabana. Who is the Tana for the following brighter that we stated? What did we state in the brighter? La'achla. We said in the brighter that the Shemitah produce has to be used la'achla, for eating purposes. The Torah says la'achla, v'lo l'melugma. And this brighter says that when the Torah emphasizes la'achla, Torah emphasizes for eating purposes, it's excluding lugma. Good morning, Mark. How are you?
Bye.
Now we translated lugma. Rashi had translated for medical purposes. You can't use this, let's say, to put on a wound as medical purposes. You can't use Shemitah produce for medical purposes. La'achla v'lo lugma. Now, also la'achla v'lo l'ziluf. It says that you're supposed to use the Shemitah produce for eating. We're also going to exclude ziluf. If you're going to use the Shemitah produce, let's say you're going to use the wine to give off a nice odor, a nice smell in the house. You want to use the wine as an air freshener. Now, most people do not need wine as an air freshener. It's not something that's, but there are certain people that we'll call them finicky type of people, or sometimes finicky type of people that, they need a certain type of smell in the air. And it's very difficult for them to, without that smell in the air. Like there's certain type of people that they can't, they can't go without the windows open in the winter. Not everyone needs the windows open in the winter, but there's certain people have the air conditioner running in the winter too. There's a certain sensitivity that people have. So you know any of those people, Adam?
Me.
No, okay. How do you like that? It's a sensitivity. It's nothing wrong with the person that they have such a sensitivity. Most people might not need an air conditioner in the winter. Most people don't need to, most people don't need to close their steams in the winter. But some people they specifically close their steams and they can't. If their steam is not closed, they will be stuffed.
Only with sleeping.
Right. So some people have that need, but so too some people have a need to have this wine in the house as an odor, giving a nice smell in the house. But it's not the majority of the people. It's not something that everybody needs. Everybody needs laundry detergent. Everyone's clothing needs to be done. So the pasuk is saying you can't use Shemitah produce in a way that's not in this type of way where it's only a group of people that want to they have this type of need. Apik tozin. What's a peak tozin? Peak tozin, if a person feels a need to spit up, let's say a person to vomit, he ate too much. If a person ate too much, sometimes they need to take a pill to get rid of what they ate. Because sometimes people on their own, they throw it up on their own. Sometimes they need a little help of something so that if you want to use the Shemitah produce for that type of purpose, so that the Torah says no, you cannot use it for that type of purpose. But the Torah was when the Torah was specific in emphasizing la'achla, for eating purposes is coming to exclude these type of purposes with the Shemitah produce. Now, Keman, who was the author of this Braita? Kireb Yossi. The author of this Braita is Rabbi Yossi.
Why wouldn't it say what we can use it for instead of all of these odd things that we can't use it for? And just say, put the
Yeah,
exclusion list. You're allowed to use it for washing your hair or not, or whatever. You're allowed to use it for medical. Which is why those are two things you can't use it for. But instead of saying why can't we say what we can use it for, and then that and everything else is a no?
right, because the Gemara said, because there's another pasuk that says lachem, which seems to indicate for all your needs. So therefore, that other pasuk is coming to include pretty much everything that you could use the Shemitah produce for, according to that opinion. And therefore, the Gemara wants to know, being if we're including so much from the lachem, that it's for you, for all different types of purposes. So, but how do we explain the specific, the pasuk when it says la'achla, which is specific for eating? If you're telling me lachem, and you're including Baruch Rofei Cholim, welcome back, Simon. Welcome back. So how do we're on 40b1, because Mark, we have another pasuk, which is a very broad pasuk, which is very inclusive of many things, because it says lachem for all your needs in a certain sense, not specifically for food. And we have another pasuk that says, another part of the verse that says la'achla for your food purposes. So this seems to be the only things, this opinion is only excluding these type of things, but it's not excluding pretty much everything else, and anything that's similar to these three things will be excluded. What is the common thread about these three things? These three things are benefits that are used for a specific group of people, not for the every person. It's only a specific group of people. For instance, people who are on medication. Not everyone needs medication. So that group of people that want to use this for a bandage, you want to use Shemitah produce for a bandage. Since that's not the need of every person needs to drink. Every person, drinks wine. Every person needs laundry done. Every person, so that is the common use of every person. But something that's only used by a specific group of people that are, let's say, sensitive people. And so that's what we're coming to exclude. But everything else is included. And the Gemara points that out by saying, who is the author of this Braita? The author of this Braita is Rabbi Yossi. Because the Rabbanan have a longer list of exclusions. Ha'ikanami Mishra Kutza. The Rabbanan say that you cannot use the produce, just to bring Simon up to date, we're talking about produce of Shemitah. And the Rabbanan hold that you cannot use the produce of Shemitah, you can't use wine that came from grapes that grew during the Shemitah season, that you can't use that wine for laundry detergent. You can't use that wine to soak your flax in that wine. The Rabbanan because the Rabbanan exclude more things than Rabbi Yossi. And the fact that we're only excluding this Braita does not say the name of the author, but it only excludes these three type of items, using the Shemitah produce for a air freshener. Not everybody needs in their dining room an air freshener. Not every home has air fresheners in the dining room. Maybe you have air fresheners, every home might have air fresheners in a bathroom, maybe. Not every dining room. Simon, you're in the real estate industry. Does every dining room have air fresheners in the dining room? No, it's not. Maybe as generations have gone, it's more common than. Right. But 40 years ago, it wasn't. 40 years ago, it was not so common. Am I correct, Simon? 40 years ago, it wasn't common to have an air freshener in the dining room. So or having how many people need to have to vomit up food because they ate too much food? I said yesterday, we're not like the Greeks. I said yesterday that the Greeks had vomiting pits. The Greeks were very full of pleasure. They were all about pleasure, worshiping the body. They would stuff themselves, eat as much as they can. And at a certain point, they couldn't eat anymore, but they want to have more pleasure of eating. So what did they do? They had vomiting pits. They would spit out the food. Now they have an appetite. They have more food and more pleasure. So they most probably took they took this type of pill to vomit to get out the food. So that's not the common person. So therefore, that is the things that Rabbi Yossi excludes, and therefore the Gemara says that he is the author of that Braita. The Rabbanan have a longer list of things that they exclude. If you want to call it the laundry list, we're talking about they exclude using as laundry detergent. They exclude because they held morning Ralph. What do the rabbis hold? The rabbis hold that when the Torah says the word la'achla, and the Torah says the word lachem, that you have a right to use Shemitah produce for other purposes, they say it has to be similar to eating, as we said yesterday. And just like eating, you have the consumption of the item and the benefit of the item happening at the same time. So too, if you're using Shemitah produce, has to be used in that fashion that the consumption of the Shemitah produce and the benefit is happening at the same time. So therefore, if you drink the wine of Shemitah produce, the consumption and the benefit happen at the same time. But if you will take Shemitah produce and want to go ahead and use it for laundry detergent, so it's consumed when you do the laundry with it, and the benefit is only when you wear it. Therefore, it's not happening at the same time, and therefore it cannot be used in that purpose. That's according to the Chachamim. However, Rabbi Yossi does not agree with that exposition. He holds it does not have to be the consumption and the benefit at the same time, in order for for you to go ahead and use an item of Shemitah. And therefore, he would say you could go ahead and use the wine for laundry detergent. Okay, now we're getting to a new piece now. Amar Rabbi Elazar. We said before that if you take Shemitah, good morning, Mr. Haber. Good morning, Mark. Very good. We said before that Shemitah, if you go ahead and you take Shemitah money or Shemitah produce and you sell it, right? And you buy an etrog of Shemitah. So we said, what is the concern of the Mishnah? The concern of the Mishnah is if you buy an etrog from an uneducated Jew, so even if he sells it to you there are certain types of ways that you could deal with fruits of Shemitah, that even though there's a prohibition of doing business with Shemitah produce, but under certain ways, there's ways that you could do business with Shemitah produce. Maybe if it's not the normal way of sale, there's certain ways you could go ahead and do sale, buying. But the concern we said is that the uneducated Jew is not going to treat the money that he receives for the etrog in the right way. He's not going to, because the money, if I go ahead and I buy, Mark, you able to hear me from the hallway? If I buy an etrog from an uneducated Jew, the concern is that what is he going to do with the money? I gave him $100 for the etrog. What is he going to do with that money? Is he going to put it in the bank? You can't put it in the bank. You have to use it up. Okay, is he going to go buy a coat? You can't buy coat with the money that he received from the sale of an etrog. That was the issue that we said. So comes our Gemara. He could buy fall food. He could buy like you say for burning purposes, right? For oil, for lighting purposes. That he could go ahead and lighting purposes. The consumption and the benefit is happening simultaneously, right? When you light a fire, when you light a torch, the oil is being consumed, and the benefit is happening at the same time. So that will be a proper purchase with his money. But he's not the uneducated Jew is not looking to go ahead and just use up the money that he makes for the etrog. He wants to put it away. He wants to store it away. He might want to buy some other items that he's not allowed to use. So therefore, we say you cannot go. Therefore, that's the issue why you shouldn't buy from him the etrog. Therefore, we ask him to gift it to us. So now this concept that the money that is received for the sale of an etrog will be consecrated, will have holiness to it. What would be if you have produce of Shemitah, an etrog, and can you redeem the etrog? Morning, Jack. Could you redeem the etrog onto money? That means like a guy goes ahead, a guy has an etrog, and the etrog grew during the Shemitah, right? It grew during the Shemitah. And if he goes ahead and he says, you know what, I want the holiness of that etrog to go onto this $100. Now, would that $100, would we say now, generally, if you have, let's say, kachim, things that belong to Hegdish, you can technically redeem it onto money. If let's say under certain circumstances, you can redeem it onto money. And the money will also become holy. Now, the only thing is by Hegdish, when you redeem it, the thing that was sanctified before is no longer holy, and it's transferred completely to the money, and the money becomes holy. Here the question is, would I would think you just you have the money in front of you. I would think you declare it that the money that's by me is becomes redeeming this item. But here the question is, would the money, if I take $100 bill, and I say the sanctity of the etrog should go on the $100 bill, would the $100 bill now have sanctity of Shemitah? Would it say it's about subject to the same laws? Now, we're not saying that the etrog would no longer be subject to the laws of Shemitah, because just like if a person, you buy an etrog from Shemitah, we say the money is holy and the etrog remains holy. So we want to know, does the holiness also go to the $100 if I did it not in the way of sale? The given, our Mishnah says if I buy the etrog, the money is holy. That we know. What about if I don't buy the etrog, I redeem the etrog on $100? Would the money also be holy in such a situation? So that's going to be the issue over here in our Gemara. Now, with that introduction, we're going to start 40b1 on the right side. You have it, the right, Omar Rav Elazar. Rav Elazar says the following. Ein shvi'it mischalelet ela derech mekech. So this is how the Gemara is understanding at this point of the Gemara. Shemitah, now if you look at the Rashi, Ein shvi'it mischalelet. If you see the Rashi, the headline, the left side, the Rashi, Ein shvi'it mischalelet. Litvos domeh b'tushata. That the money should take hold in the same holiness, ela derech mekech. Only if you sell the Shemitah produce. I sell it to Mark. Now that has that money that Mark gave me for the etrog now has sanctity. But not through chilul. Now what's called chilul? So here Rashi says, Mark was this. What's the process? Rashi says, Loma to say, you're saying, Hare peirot halalu, these fruit, muchulalin al moat halalu. This fruit should go on to what? This etrog should go on to this money. I say it, it's a verbal thing. And we say, that's the way you generally redeem Hegdesh. If I have an item of Hegdesh, let's say I have a pen, a pen, coarse pen. But I said, I want to make it Hegdish. Now it belongs to Hegdish. Now I said, you know what? I really would like to get that pen back. What do I got to do? I can redeem it. I add a fifth on the deal too. Hegdish gets an extra fifth on the deal. I say, this cross pen should go on the $10. And now the pen belongs to me and the $10 is old. Right? So here the question is by Perish Shvi'it, the Gemara is not questioning that the fruit should no longer be holy. That thing was not saying. But the question is, can I sanctify this money by just saying this money should receive the holiness of this etrog? I want to etrog remains the kedusha, the shemitah produce of shemitah. You only could use it in the way that it's a permitted use. Which we said permitted use would be I can eat it during the Shemitah year. I can't store it away for after Shemitah. I have to eat it. I have to, whatever the permitted use of etrog produce is, it has to be, there's certain things. And I only could keep it by me as long as there's etrogim in the field. No more etrogim in the field. I got to get it out, take it out of my house and put it back in the field, declare it hefker. So there's certain laws that we have to do with the whole, with Shemitah. I can't waste it at all. I mean, I can't waste anything, but there's certain things but the status of the etrog didn't change. The question is, the question is, can the money accept respect? Right. So the status of the money, which was before ordinary money, is now this money holy, and I can't buy a coat. If the money is holy, I have to use it during the Shemitah year. I can't just store it and put it into the bank. Chase bank. I can't do that. I gotta it's for afterwards. I gotta use it up. So what's the status of this money? What did you say, Ralph? Yeah, yes. There's no problem using from our Gemara. The issue is not we're going to use. That's how we're going to use the etrog. We're going to use the etrog in a proper fashion. Of Shemitah, the guy gives it to you as a gift. You use it, right? No problem. But I can't. I could again. I could sell it, but it depends on who I'm selling it to. If again, for a second, the seller, if you're the seller, you're educated, you can sell the etrog under certain guidelines of sale of Shemitah produce. There are certain ways there's certain things the way you could sell under certain ways, not the normal way of sale, but sale you can on a certain, because the Mishnah did not have a problem of the sale. The Mishnah's problem is what the uneducated dude is going to do with the money. And the Mishnah Tosfos pointed out there are ways that the sale could be done in a kosher fashion. No, right. That sounds to me that's the normal way of business. The Torah forbids that. You can't do that. Can't do that. But
it's like retail only one at a time and only enough to buy it.
Right. So we said right. If you're buying from an uneducated Jew, you technically could buy an item from an uneducated Jew as long as it's not going to give him more money than 3 meals that he could buy for 3 meals. If it's more than 3 meals, we're afraid he's already going to store away the money. That's the issue. Educated Jew, you could buy. It's not a problem. You could buy 4 meals, something of 5. As long as it's not the normal way of business, he knows what to do with the money. But the uneducated Jew, there are certain ways you could sell produce under certain conditions, not the normal way. Maybe if there's certain things, if you didn't pick it off the tree, sounds like from Tosfos, if someone else, one guy picks it off, one guy sells it, there might be certain allowance. There are different. We could look into that. We could look at that. What's the case? What's the allowance? What's the way you do it? But the general, it's not the normal way of sale. That's right. Because they want to sell the normal way of sale. It's like on Shabbat when it comes to mukseh, right? Mukseh on Shabbat. If let's say there's a dollar bill here on the table, right? So I could go in and knock it off with my back of my hand. That's not the normal way of. So that's not that the rabbis did not forbade that type of movement on a muksa item. The rabbi said, I can't, the money, I can't go ahead and pick up money. I can't go ahead and pick up the money on Shabbat. That will be a problem. But if I go ahead and want, even just to pick up the money, to move the money, it's a problem. The Shabbat. Whatever the issues, the rabbis have concerns of mukseh. But if I want it in an unusual manner, they did not forbade it. So it seems that even the Torah and the rabbis, when the sale of produce of Shemitah is not done in the normal way, there are allowances, just like you understand knocking money like this is not a normal way of handling money. So you can understand there's ways that's not called the normal way of business, and therefore it can be done under certain circumstances, the sale of produce. But if it's a normal way of business, there will be a biblical prohibition, like Ralph is talking about, biblical prohibition of selling Shemitah produce in the normal way that business is done. But getting back to our case, would the money be consecrated? Would the money have holiness if I say I want the produce of Shemitah to go on to this money? So that is the question of the Gemara. Comes the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar says, now these are later rabbis discussing the issue, because we have the precedent that we have is about sale of Shemitah produce does consecrate the money. That's the given from our Mishnah. We all want to know, okay, we found that. So what the issue here is, we find when it comes to Hegdish, you could consecrate money by redeeming it onto money. So would the same thing apply to Shemitah produce, or is Shemitah produce its own total category that the holiness is only if it's done in a way of sale? And if I want to say I want the holiness of this of the produce to go into money, maybe it will not take effect.
I get holiness with the dish, but this kind of goes easy in my head. But Shemitah, it's almost like you're leaving Shemitah for every Amaharis to come eat and for people to take. It doesn't constitute holiness.
Right. So the holiness, very good. So here we're saying holiness means the restrictions and limitations and the specific way it has to be used. That's the holiness that we're referring to. There's special laws. It's holy, right? Right. You're saying right. So it's a good point that you're saying, but for our purposes, the holiness here means when you have certain restrictions, limitations, that it's holy. It's produce from Shemitah, and it's looked at, it's dealt with in a different fashion. It's not meaning it's not mundane that you could use it like anything. That there's no mundane stuff. The money, no restrictions. You do what you want with the money. And here, the fact that I got to tell you, just like kadoshim to you, it's kadoshim to you. It means also like you have to separate from certain women. You have to separate. There's certain restrictions about. So therefore, that's called holiness. We don't. It can't be used in any way. You can't do anything. Mundane, and you can't use it in any fashion. So therefore, that would be maybe the uses of that language. So comes the rabbis, Amar Rabbi Elazar. He says the only way the holiness could go onto the money is only if it's done in the way of a sale. If I sell you the etrog, now that money becomes holy. But it will not be holy if I want to say I want to redeem I want the holiness of the etrog to go onto the money. It cannot be transferred in that fashion. That's his opinion. However, Rabbi Yochanan, and there's a little letter after Rabbi Yochanan Amar, which that little letter Gimel, see on the red. Yes.
So again, go back to the use of the word, comparing it to a dish. The dish, I pop it off the produce, put it on the money, so I can travel to Jerusalem and use the money there, right? I can't bring 40 barrels of apples.
Mike Shani, right.
Here, what's the purpose of transferring again, use the word holy? What's the word? What's the use of transferring the restriction of the money?
Right. Maybe he's mistaken. Maybe the person feels he was thinking he could go ahead and have the same laws of Hekdesh, and it's redeemed and it's no longer holy. But really, it's going to remain holy. Maybe that's his mistake. He says he might want to unholy it, but really it stays there. He's like,
but again, moving it to the money.
maybe he was thinking that maybe he could undo the whole. No. So once you could use the money to buy. No, you could buy food with the money. You could do, if the guy was thinking, he doesn't want to have the deal with the fruit now. He doesn't need the fruit. He has no use for the fruit. So says, you know what? Maybe it's better. I'll put it onto the money. The money will have the holiness of Shemitah, And the fruit, maybe he's thinking he could eat the fruit. He's not able to eat the fruit, but maybe that's what he's thinking. Or he wants, or he, or he.
So you're saying ultimately that he's trying to pop it off the fruit and put it on the money?
Either that's
So he could use
that's one possibility.
And what's give me the flip side of the money? What do I do with the money?
No, then I have to use the money for eating purposes, whatever. I got to buy food with that money. I got to buy things. I got to treat the money exactly the way I would have treated the etro before I tried to redeem it.
I think that the fruit that's got and go trade it for
So either he was right. So either right. Either he was thinking right again. So he. No, you could buy but whatever he was thinking that he could buy, he'll use it for whatever permitted use he could use the Shemitah produce. He'll use this. Okay, whatever. I mean, as much as he needs to eat, he could use it for food purposes. He could use it for oil purposes. Morning, David. He wants to buy oil. Everyone needs lights in the house, so you use it for lighting for that year of Shemitah. I mean, he could buy. You could buy. We said that you could use. I mean, we said again that might be the issue of if you buy so much at a time, you might be doing transaction if he's buying grain of Shemitah. But if he wants to go ahead and buy, right. So that would be right. If he wants to go ahead and buy, if you take Shemitah money, right? Or if you take Shemitah produce, you could go ahead. Again, the issue would be if I have Shemitah produce, if I'm going to buy a year's worth, it sounds like I'm doing a real business deal. Right, exactly. But you can't do real normal business. Probably you can't buy a year's worth of stuff. Correct. Now the other possibility is that maybe the person is such a holy person, Mark, that he wants to the midst of Shemitah, he wants to conduct himself with more things with Shemitah. He wants the midst of Shemitah, so he has money in his house. Let's say he says, you know what, I have Shemitah produce, I have an etrog, and I want my money also to be used. I want to sanctify my money. He's a holy guy. He wants to sanctify money, and he's not thinking that the Shemitah produce is going to lose its sanctity. It's not thinking of redeeming it in the classical way. He wants to add. I have the mitzvah Shemitah. It's once every 7 years. But here he wants to add. Right. There's nothing. He wants to add. He's a holy guy. He has a mitzvah. And when you treat fruit of Shemitah or money of Shemitah, that was like when you do a sale, if you treat it the way you're supposed to treat it, you're getting a mitzvah. You're following the Torah law that you're treating Shemitah produce the way you're supposed to treat Shemitah produce. So if I have a way, David, to take money, an etrog, and which has holiness of Shemitah that grew during the Shemitah, which I have certain laws how I need to deal with that etrog. And if I go ahead, I can't make medication out of that etrog. I can't go ahead and store the etrog for after Shemitah. I have certain laws. If I'm a type of person, I want to add to the Shemitah experience. I want more mitzvah of Shemitah. I want more items that have the laws of Shemitah, and I'm going to get another mitzvah under my belt. How do you like that? He's such a holy person, and he goes ahead and he says, "I have an opportunity. I'm going to have the Shemitah produce. I want it to go on. I want the holiness of the Shemitah produce to go onto the money also. I want to treat the money now I'm going to know the laws of how you treat money of Shemitah. And I'm going to treat it the way I'm going to show the world what you do with money of Shemitah. And I'm going to still have to. It didn't pop off. It doesn't pop off. The etrog is still right. But so now I want to add holiness. I want more items in my house to be subject to Shemitah. I am Shemitah hungry. That's the type of guy I am. I want more items subject to Shemitah. So that's the question. The question is, can Rabbi Yochanan Amar Bein derech mekach. We'll see at the end of the Gemara how the Gemara is going to turn out. But this is how the Gemara at this point is. You'll see Mark's point. I think that the commentary on the bottom brings out Mark's point. He says, if you look at note. Note number 7 on the bottom. Everyone's looking at note number 7, 40b1, second paragraph. Mark, you got the second paragraph? Although Rabbi Elazar speaks, everyone got it? Although Rabbi Elazar speaks of chilul, deconsecration of the produce, this term does not carry its usual connotation here. Mr. Hayward, note number 7. For as the Gemara now understands the matter, Rabbi Elazar speaks even of the deconsecration of produce that actually grew in the Shemitah. That's what the Gemara is thinking now. Such produce never loses its sanctity. While its sale imparts Shemitah's sanctity to the money, it does so without removing it from the produce, which remains subject to all its previous restrictions in the hands of its new owner. For this reason, you got it, Mark? This is exactly your point. That the issue here with the Gemara, at least we're going to see that maybe the Gemara is going to move away from this idea. But at this point, the Gemara is thinking that a guy has Shemitah produce, he has an etter that grew during Shemitah, he wants to go ahead and put that holiness, he wants to spread the holiness. He wants to spread it. How do you like that? He wants to spread the holiness of Shemitah, Simon, onto his money too. He has money, thank God, God gifted him money. He wants to deal, he wants the money also to have that thing. What a guy. I'm gonna use the etrog. I'm gonna eat the etrog of Shemitah. I can eat it. It's available. I can eat it. I mean, if I want, I could sell it if I make a legal sale, not the normal sale. Right. I put the money on it. Right. The etrog remains holy. The money became, according to that opinion, one opinion is the money's holy, the etrog's holy. I have a certain laws how I got to deal with Shemitah produce. I got everything. I made everything whole. Everything is holy. That's what's going on over here. Only we said Shemitah can't be sold only under the normal sale of produce Shemitah. Not the normal way of sale. There's ways to sell Shemitah produce. Not the normal way. Not the normal way we wheel and deal. So the Gemara Mishchalelet means the idea of deconsecrate, or Mischala means that it's going on to the other item. You know. Usually, that's why the usual translation of Mischalelet means from the language of chulin. It becomes mundane. Usually, when you say something becomes, you go ahead and when you go ahead and you redeem something, it's Mischalelet, it becomes deconsecrated. The item that was holy becomes like the language of chulin. Like, what do we say on Havdalah? Hamavdil be kodesh l'chol. So Mischalelet is in the language of mundane. So you want to make the holiness of the Hekdesh onto the thing, and now this becomes mundane. But here, it doesn't mean, the Mischalelet doesn't mean the normal translation, because as Mark pointed out, the fruit remains holy. So therefore, how do you translate the word Mischalelet? It just means to say that the holiness, part one, is the holiness goes from this item onto the second item, but it doesn't mean that the first item loses its holiness. Well, probably that's what they're going to say, that the term is chalelet. Right, that means we're going to see when we finish the Gemara. By the time we finish the whole, it's another page and a half. We're going to come up. We're going to see how the Gemara is going to change its tune. That's what we understand that it means now. So the Gemara said, this is the machloket. Amar Rabbi Elazar, ein shviut mischalelet. The only way you could go ahead and impart the holiness of this fruit of Shemitah onto money or onto some other item is ela derech mekach, only through if it's done in the way of a sale. Rabbi Yochanan says no. Bein derech mekach, whether you sold the etrog, the money will now be holy. The money that I receive for the etrog will have the holiness of the etrog. Bein derech chilul. Even if I did not sell the etrog, I'm in the privacy of my home. There's no other person. There's no seller and buyer. It's just me. I go ahead and I say, this is the etrog. I want the etrog holiness to go onto the money. The money now becomes holy too.
He's selling to yourself.
Exactly. You're selling it to yourself. You're redeeming yourself, Gary, and I can go ahead and make this money holy by just saying this etrog, the holiness should go onto this money. Okay, I think one lesson we take in life is we have abilities to make our money holy. Let's try to make our money holy. Let's use it for holy purposes in proper fashion. How do you like that, David? That's the ability we have in everyday life. There are a lot of people that do not make their money holy. They take their money, they go gambling with their money, they buy drugs with their money. Who knows what they're doing with their money? But we have the ability, right, Mark, to take them. People are buying, getting drunk with their money. We don't need to get drunk with the money. We don't need to do all those things. Let's do great things with the money that God gives us. All the best, everybody. I had to say that at the end.
What?
I thought I should mention that. There seems to be a problem that people are, too much drinking for some people, right? Am I correct about that, Gary? You don't know these things, but there are people. I mean, I know somebody that his marriage was almost over because of his drinking. What? I went to his house, Gary. His freezer was full of stuff.